Hey, Pastor Steve Waldron. We're going to look today at two of the supposed silver bullet proofs of evolution and show how on closer examination neither one show macro evolution or evolution that transcends species, going from lesser to greater. And we get this from Icons of Evolution. I've read it multiple times by Jonathan Wells. Now, Jonathan Wells has 2 PhDs, one from Yale and one from UC Berkeley, and he's a member of several scientific associations. He died not too terribly long ago. So peppered moss, and when I talk to people, they're like, yeah, I remember this, from school, that you had white moss, and the trees around in England had white bark. And then when the Industrial Revolution hit, soot comes, it turns the bark black, or at least much darker, and the moths turn black, supposedly showing evolution to adapt to local circumstances. Now, first of all, nobody that I know of says that God did not create us with adaptability within species. It's the transcending of species, and we know now through DNA science and genetic walls that that's impossible to do, to transcend species, unless there's an intelligent designer doing gene editing and gene splicing, CRISPR technology and the like. And so, but here's what has happened over the decades since this happened in the 1800s, them examining it. So first of all, it doesn't prove macroevolution. At best, it would prove adaptability within a species. But what happened is you actually had white moths and black moths living simultaneously. White moths, using God's camouflage, lived on the white bark. The black moths would live underneath the leaves to prevent predators, primarily birds, from coming and snatching them. And so when this happened, the black moths decided, the bark became dark, they decided they were going to go live on the dark bark, and then the white moths decided to go back and live underneath. Then, once pollution standards got in place and the bark of the trees gradually became whiter, the white moths reappeared in the habitat. So it had nothing at all to do with evolution. The next is Darwin's finches, and showing that the beak of the finch, depending on weather conditions, would either be longer or shorter, showing again supposedly gradual evolution there in the Galapagos Islands. And that whole tale of Darwin on HMS Beagle, I've read Darwin's account of that, his autobiography. It's all very fascinating. The captain was some kind of almost fanatical Christian. He was at the famous Darwin debate with Christian, I think it was a Wilberforce or someone that was debating him and all this, and talking about how God, did all this. Anyhow, and Darwin came from a long line of radicals. His grandfather, Erasmus Darwin, actually developed the theory of evolution in the Temple of Nature and Zoonomia, which we have examined here on the channel. You can still buy those books, last I checked anyhow, on Amazon. And Erasmus was a member of the Hellfire Club, a very radical person. They came from a very radical place. The only degree Charles Darwin ever had was a bachelor's degree in theology. So, back to Darwin's finches. Well, now they have found out that depending on the amount of rain that happens there on the Galapagos Islands, that, I'm thinking of the Galapagos tortoises, that if it rains a lot, that the bugs are closer to the top of the soil, like the worms. And so shorter billed finches make the 600-800 mile journey from the coast of South America over there. It's the coast of Chile, somewhere in there. And eat it. When times of drought or lack of rain, the worms have to burrow deeper in there, and so the long-billed finches then fly over and predominate. So they're all still finches. Nobody's saying it went to another something else, to, you know, from finch to reptile or something like that. Slight adaptability, which everybody agrees. But secondly, we now know that the whole thing is caused by natural conditions, and the finch beak length is not increasing or decreasing. And he goes into other things such as four-winged fruit flies and all of the mutations of the millions of generations of fruit flies. None of them have been beneficial. None of them have had beneficial mutations passed to next generations and all this. The famous fossil horse hoax, we now know is a hoax. And then the incredible ape to human, which I've done multiple videos on the channel about that, and that there's a lot of deliberate falsification there, and none of them prove to be missing links between mankind and some Australopithecus or a previous ancestor. So great book. Genesis 1 is still true. God bless you. We love you. Bye-bye.